Hey MCE crew, let's take a look at Palantir. As you know, Palantir is one of the stocks that I invest in. I want to take a look at some of their second quarter numbers because the company is accelerating in terms of its growth. And I think now is the perfect time to take Palantir as an example, show you some of the fundamental characteristics of what the company is doing in terms of management and relate that to what the stock might do. So I want you to get an idea of kind of some of the parameters by which you may want to evaluate a stock, some of the fundamental parameters you may want to evaluate a stock by. Now, none of this should be construed as me recommending Palantir to you as a stock you should buy. Absolutely not. I'm not doing that. You need to figure that out on your own using your experts and the people that you work with. And you can arrive at a conclusion based on your due diligence, okay? I'm just sharing with you what I do. Now, one of the reasons I'm making this video is because I love hearing from Doom Charlotte. Doom Charlotte is out there somewhere, and I'm looking forward to Doom Charlotte's comment on this video saying Palantir to the moon. I totally agree. All right, so let's take a look at something that is extremely interesting in terms of the way Palantir is managing its debt and the money that it has on hand. Now, they've got over $2 billion of cash laying around the company. And if you divide the amount of cash that they have on hand by the 12-month burn, or the amount of money that they spend in a year, then you're going to get just under a decade of operations capability from the cash that they currently have on hand right now. To me, that speaks of a well-managed company, and it also says that they've got some room here to be innovative and to not have to really sweat paying the bills. You know, they've got almost a decade of the capability to do that now based on their current operations. And I only see that figure improving, okay, as these revenues grow, as they gain more commercial clients. We're going to get into that now. Now, Palantir's client base has been heavy on the government sector. Various government agencies here in the United States, such as the U.S. Army, the Space Force, the Coast Guard, the DOD, or Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, etc., etc. But not only does Palantir have access to, or can count among their client base, those groups, Palantir also has clients among the U.S. allies in foreign countries. Okay, so Israel, there's some speculation that Israel is one of those clients, the UK and others. So we got that government sector, all right? And I actually see that continuing to grow. Not really for reasons I might welcome. I just think that the governments of the world are collecting more and more data on all of us, and that data needs to be managed, and that's what Palantir does. So you can't beat them, join them. The other thing is, no one really talks about this, but I am guessing that Palantir is also trying to make some moves within state government. And let me give you a perfect example of why the states may need Palantir services. Right now, we've talked about ad nauseum the fact that this renter's assistance, this billions of dollars in rental assistance that is allocated to the states, is not getting from the state coffers to the landlords to satisfy rents in arrears. There is some type of logjam there, and I think a lot of it has to do with the software, the data compilation, trying to figure out who is owed what. That is the perfect opportunity for Palantir to come in and to be able to sort that sort of thing out. So we have identified that to the extent that state governments continue to work with the federal government and get money from the federal government and do different things, especially look at the infrastructure bill, okay, and all this money they're spending on that. It's a lot of money going to be coming out of the federal coffers going into the states. That needs to be managed more efficiently. Palantir could go a long way to eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse within state governments as well as the federal government. So there's a lot of room for growth in the government sector for Palantir, but they're also making waves in the commercial sector, and that's really going to be the sweet spot for Palantir, is that commercial sector. All right, let's talk about some of the other numbers dealing with the company. The big data firm made a splash in Q2 21, second quarter of 2021, seeing continued revenue acceleration and growing revenues per customer. Palantir's total revenues grew 49% year over year to $376 million, surpassing its own guidance or its own prediction of seeing $360 million, and growing revenues at the same high rate as in Q1 2021. Palantir's, now this is important, Palantir's government business grew 66% year over year to 232 million as the analytics firm signed new deals with the Department of Health and Human Services, the Army, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard, and the CDC. Now, some people get a little nervous when we see Palantir's government sector numbers continue to grow. But remember what I said, government is just getting bigger and bigger. So it's natural that if you serve the government in the manner that Palantir does, you're going to see, that market share among that customer, among that client, grow as well. But that has not stopped them from growing in the private sector. We'll talk about that in a minute. Revenues generated from governments in the second quarter of 2021 represented 62% of total revenues and continue to dominate. Revenues sourced from private enterprise grew 28% year over year as commercial uptake of Palantir's analytics tools accelerated last quarter. Palantir's commercial revenue growth in the second quarter of 2021 surpassed the 19% growth rate from 2021's first quarter. Palantir's revenue growth was driven by an increase in its customer base and an increase in revenues per customer. So they did both. They got more customers, and each customer they had became more valuable. Okay, and that's a winning recipe. The firm's total customer count grew 13% quarter over quarter to 169. So they have 169 clients now. But commercial customers grew at an even faster 32%. That is awesome, because we need to see that private sector market share grow, okay, in order for us to feel extremely confident, which I do, I'm sure they can do it, extremely confident in the company's ability to really become or surpass Microsoft and become one of those household name software companies that is, embedded ubiquitously in so many systems around the world. Palantir also improved its customer monetization by getting them to spend more money on the firm's intelligence tools. So they've made each client much more valuable by being able to basically upsell them on enhancements in services. The average customer spent $7.9 million on Palantir's services, which shows an increase of 19% year over year. But average revenues sourced from the largest clients, large government and corporate accounts, which are the most lucrative for the firm, grew at almost twice the rate in Q2 2021, 36%. This was much better than expected. They expected anywhere from 20 to 25%. So again, all these numbers are just accelerated. Palantir is doing some positive things. Yes, they went out and they bought gold, and they said $50.7 million worth of gold. And they also said that they'd be taking payment in gold. I do not find that weird at all, considering the type of clients they have and considering the direction the world is taking. You're seeing more central banks buy gold. You are seeing even pension funds buy gold. So Palantir is saying, yeah, we're going to get in on that. We're going to buy some gold. And we're also going to trade in gold. So you can purchase their services and you can pay for it with gold. A lot of people find that weird, but when Elon said he was going to take payment in Bitcoin, people were like, yeah, cool. Gold's been around for thousands of years. It is valuable. It has an intrinsic value. So that is, I'm going to link to this article, of course, so you can read the rest of it yourself. Again, okay, I'm just looking at, some of the data that I read off can give you some insight into what you need to be looking at to see whether or not a company is growing in a healthy manner or not. Okay, you can look at these numbers for most companies that you might want to invest in. They'll have lots of quarters worth of data. Palantir has a limited amount because, again, it just went public recently, relatively speaking. I don't want to get out of this without talking about some of the cons. I don't want to just make this the rosy picture about Palantir. Let's go on and talk about some of the challenges that they may face. What I don't like about Palantir is the high stock-based compensation that is lowering the firm's profits and the dilution of shareholders. Palantir issues a lot of shares each quarter, which is chiefly related to the exercise of stock options. Since December 31st, 2020, the number of shares has increased by 8.1%. And Palantir also issued a lot of shares in the past. A rise in share count is a risk for the stock. That's absolutely correct. Another material risk for Palantir is a slowdown in revenue growth. Palantir is valued highly based on its prospects for revenue growth, but a slowdown in the top line could create a headwind for the stock. Related, Palantir may not become profitable, which could set the stock back as well. So that's absolutely everything that they said there is absolutely correct. And stocks, investments have risk. I would bet that they came out recently and said that they expect the third quarter growth in 2020 to be 33%, and that beats the expectation, which was 30%. So if they can do that, then they go a long way to addressing this fear about whether or not they can keep up this streak. I think they can, especially as they, again, acquire more clients in the private sector. Okay, and again, don't want to sound like a broken record here, but as government grows and continues to keep its eye on all of us, whether we like it or not, that data needs to be managed, and that's what Palantir does. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you soon.